I am Aga Laine, and I am the associate partner in Civitta Estonia. And at the same time, I'm also the coordinator of Hub IT project. So I try today to take a practical approach on showing you what could be the role of SSH scientists in Horizon 2020, the expected impact, and really practically discuss how you can get engaged. So now you should know everything about Horizon program. I tried to not to repeat what was previously said as far as I understood. So I will cover the role and impact of SSH in Horizon from the lenses of also Hub IT project and show you how to get involved. I'm representing a management consultancy company, and let's say through last 10 years we have grown to be present in 12 countries with 18 offices and more than 250 employees. And part of this growth has been also the involvement in Horizon 2020 program. And I would like to share our experience with you as a social scientist, because what the consultancy company does is very much building on social sciences, the analysis skills, the knowledge of researching the users and markets. So I think there are quite some similarities on what we do, and based on that I can share my experience. So these are our service lines, which are quite something that social scientists do. And I myself, I have a background in social sciences. I wouldn't call myself a scientist because my education stopped in master level, but it's from government and public administration. The bachelor and the master is in economics. So when in terms of what we do, we help our clients, which could be also research organizations in Estonia and from further, to prepare the project proposals to Horizon 2020. But in parallel, we also participate ourselves in relation to the activities that somehow relate to our services. So the opportunities for this mainly are located within the coordination and support actions in the Horizon 2020. And we do everything related to activities to support SMEs. For example, the Ontario project on how to get involved in public procurement, or all kinds of startup activity support funding opportunities in Horizon 2020. And this is our experience. I would say it's quite extensive. Now we have completed 3 projects, in one we were the coordinator, the CTE. And currently we are running 7 projects, and we are coordinators in 3 of them, and 1 more is starting. So one of those is the Hub IT. And what is interesting in this list here is also Dandelion project. That is actually, it was just finished, but the aim of this project was to promote the existing or funded projects within the Inclusive, Innovative and Reflective Societies program. So there we selected a number of projects and did communication activities for them and provided them support with informing what are their activities, what is the impact of the projects. So within the Dandelion webpage, you can find, I think, quite useful material in terms of how to communicate the research results and how to plan the communication during the proposal development phase. We have some guidelines there, and also interactive games to raise awareness of the role and impact of SSH, which is the topic of today also. And the reason why I'm here is the Hub IT project that we started in September 2017. It will last for 3 years, and it aims to increase the participation of SSH scientists in ICT research projects and in collaboration with ICT throughout the 3 years and across EU. So I will further introduce the opportunities, how you can get engaged and how you can use the Hub IT project to get engaged in Horizon 2020. Okay. So to explain the rationale behind the Hub IT project, I will walk you through the aims of European Commission in establishing such a project that we apply to and now are running. And the rationale is motivated from ICT, but I think it's, it can be broadened to whatever technological fields. So overall, the innovations in ICT and other technological fields introduce radical changes in our lives, how we work, how we organize our everyday life, and so on. And this kind of innovation should be aligned with the expectations of the society and the values and needs. And this is where the social scientists can step in to study the needs of the society, of different dimensions of gender, ethics, and so on. So the technological developments follow them and respond. And different kind of measures were introduced in the Horizon 2020 to facilitate this kind of collaboration. There are dedicated calls where social scientists are invited to top-down provide ideas for innovations, and also a number of topics where it is particularly mentioned that social scientists should be involved in some kind of role. And Hub IT is supposed to be the hub of all these activities. So engage with all these projects, try to learn from the experience, see how this collaboration works, how it could be improved, and also significantly increase the participation in Horizon 2020 beyond the existing partners who are circulating there in the consortiums. And here are some interesting definitions. Have you heard about the concept of responsible research and innovation as social scientists? Yes? No? Okay. When you go to Horizon 2020 documents, then you find this terminology and together with SSH. So overall, it summarizes the need for SSH collaborations in technological innovations. So responsible research and innovation expects that all societal actors, from researchers, citizens, policymakers, and third sector, are engaged in the innovation process. So it should be a collaborative process. And the aim is to align the technological developments with the needs of the society. And within Horizon 2020, it's implemented through 5 measures. It is expected that the projects do public engagement, take into consideration the ethics dimension, also gender, promote as wide as possible the science education, and provide open access to the project results. And this is the list of SSH disciplines who are expected to engage in delivering the responsible research and innovation. So I think it's a list where all of you can identify yourselves. And now we come to the role and impact of expected contribution of SSH in Horizon 2020. And on one side, SSH can explore the impacts of the innovation and provide inputs to mitigate according risks, to optimize benefits, and also the chance of successful uptake of these technological developments. But this is something that on the social scientists' side is considered not to be sufficient, that social scientists are not only there to analyze the impacts and be engaged in the later stages, but should be involved in also reframing the innovation ideas through your studies, through your knowledge about users and the society. So to be able to initiate the processes of innovation through your ideas and engagement. So this is something that is still in the early stages in Horizon 2020. But the direction is towards that. And there are a number of measures taken for social scientists to be involved in earlier stages. Okay, so when we look at the ICT program, and this is the same with many subtopics in Horizon 2020, that there might be the topic of ICT, but actually, as it's very interdisciplinary, it's included in a number of topics, and the expectation is that where ICT is present, also social science is present, embedded into the ICT. And well, as said, the role of Hub IT is to facilitate and build on these relations. So what we aim to do in Hub IT project is to bring together the social scientists and ICT developers in order to develop a shared understanding how the collaboration can take place. Then we implement a wide range of capacity building activities to increase this knowledge, and with the aim of having more and more Horizon project applications and further research and development ideas where social scientists and ICT developers work together. And also, based on the experience, provide policy recommendations for the next Horizon programs. This is the consortium of Hub IT, and that is actually reflecting what we aim to do in this project. So we have here the social scientists, for example, University of Tartu from Estonia. We have the ICT developers engaged through Hungarian ICT association, having networks across EU. We have the policy analyst, for example, the Danish Board of Technology, communication partners, consultants, and so on, to carry out activities in at least 10 countries where we are present, but also beyond. Our target groups are SSH researchers, ICT developers, and policymakers, and also users as a general public whose needs we are engaging and observing. And so very practically, the project is divided basically into 3 steps, each of them lasting for 1 year. So now by September we have completed the first stage, where we aim to establish a framework for this collaboration. And we have an online platform that I will introduce you just some minutes further, with a variety of guidelines and tools on how the collaboration can take place. On the second year, we have this knowledge base from the first year, and we go out and have, I think, 14 events across Europe to bring together the different parts and try to start facilitating the process of idea generation of what social scientists and the technology developers could do together, and see it against horizon goals and further funding opportunities. And the third year is for real collaborations and experimental activities, meaning that then we have hackathons, interactive labs, and a common ground camp where we really put the social scientists and the ICT developers together to work on common ideas and provide according support in the idea development, in developing the ideas into proposals, finding relevant goals, and so on. And in parallel, evaluate and assess these activities to provide further recommendations for the Horizon program. Okay, so very practically, for now we have dates for 2 or 3 upcoming events. So in Vienna, in the beginning of December, there will be the ICT, annual ICT event, where we will hold our first international workshop that you can see here. But a few weeks before, in November 28th to 29th, there is the conference of impact of social sciences and humanities. That is, I'm wondering if any of you is participating there? No? It's an annual event of the social sciences that is organized under the Austrian presidency. So there we will have an intervention by our impact assessment work package leaders, which are University of Tartu and Tel Aviv University. And together with the ICT event, there will be also a speed dating activity. But future, for you to be engaged, we have now, as we are entering into 2nd and 3rd year, budget available for participants of different events, so to cover the travel and accommodation costs. This year there will be advisory board meeting, which is more of a formal one, and 3 policy workshops taking place in spring. But I think more importantly, on 3rd year, it's still time until there, but then we will have the really practical activities where I would like to invite you all to think about if this is something where you could participate, as there we go into really practical collaboration between the social scientists and the technology developers of a variety of fields to establish together ideas for Horizon 2020 and prepare proposals. So there will be 3 inclusive hackathons, common ground camp, and interactive ICT labs that will be in the facilities of Technical University of Berlin, Tel Aviv University, and the Slovakian partner. So I invite you to register in Hub IT platform, so we can invite you in these events, because this is really a place where you can start establishing your collaboration networks and get our support in designing the ideas for Horizon 2020. And we can really provide practical advice. Number of them will be a few day-long events. Okay, and to sum up of the work that we have done the first year, here is also the link to the platform where you can go and register and be updated on the future events that will take place. And I think it's a good opportunity to get engaged, as we also have funding available for you to come and participate in the events that will probably not take place in Latvia. We don't have partners here. We have Estonian and Lithuanian partners actually. But a lot of events will be international, meaning that you have opportunity to meet international partners, start developing international networks through the engagement there. Okay, and through the events that we have had until now within Hub IT, we have sit together with different sides of social scientists and the technology developers from a variety of fields, and analyzed what is the current status of collaboration, what are the key drivers and enablers, and also on the other side, what are the main barriers for collaboration. And I think here you can also relate to these things. So the most important thing where SSH can contribute and why should be engaged is the need for user adoption of the services. So to understand how the users are thinking, what are the different social gender dimensions of their activities and how technologies can support them. So this is actually the criteria for success of all the technology products, to be aligned with user needs from the start. And this is the key sales argument for you to use when approaching the ICT or variety of fields technological partners on why they should engage you in Horizon projects. Because SSH can contribute to the ICT success and generating trust in the technologies developed. And increase the competitiveness of the technologies. But there is a common agreement that still the collaboration between SSH and the technologies in the very beginning, and there is a need for more and more enablers and arguments for the technology developers to understand why to collaborate with SSH and to engage with you. So in all the events, the list of barriers has been much longer than the list of enablers. And there are really basic things. It's a different mindset and lack of a common language between these two areas, because the developers often have very technological and concrete mindset, while the SSH is considered something abstract. Why we need to do this? What is the value of it? And there is also the notion that SSH researchers can only deliver something useful during the evaluation phase, when everything is already done, and to evaluate how it's working, maybe to get some feedback on the impacts and so on. But there is a need to engage SSH already in the design phase, so from the very beginning of the technology developments. And due to this different understanding, it's difficult for the technology developers to understand why, what is the return on investment if to engage with SSH. Because they are aiming to going faster to the market, and it seems to be faster and cheaper without taking these additional stages. But at the same time, SSH contribution is long-term. So this is not yet acknowledged on wider scale. And these things result on limited funding on SSH activities, both on private side, so companies are not so used to getting engaged with researchers in general, but researchers from social sciences in particular. If they go to universities to do some contract research, they really very rarely think about going to contract research from SSH. Do you agree on this? Is this something that you have experienced? Do you have requests from the companies to do research? No? Yeah. So this is what we have experienced across Europe. It's a common problem. And even if there are efforts on public funding to give more support for engagement of SSH, still the overall design, for example, of Horizon 2020 limits it because it's still very oriented on delivering the research and innovation results related to technology readiness levels that are expected from each project. So each project provides their plan on when what will be developed and when it will be on the market. But when we engage social scientists, that may get some insights from the users, from the market, that maybe the initial concept that was proposed is not working, it will not work, then there are adjustments needed. And that's really complicated to do in a funding framework with a fixed work program and so on. So there is this, this conflict designed into the programs, and during consultations and providing our feedback, we are always also in HBIT analyzing the ways how to approach this conflict, how the framework program could be adjusted, so this feedback loop of social scientists could actually be taken into account in practice. Okay, so building on these drivers and barriers, you have seen this slide in different variations multiple times today, but I will try to make some very more practical implications how to get involved. How do you feel comfortable in Horizon 2020 context? It's a huge program with a lot of subtopics. Do you know where to find social science opportunities? Who knows? Raise your hand. Where to go? Okay, one. Okay, yes. So it requires some time to orient around it. But you have been introduced to two programs that are directly aimed for SSH scientists. So it's the Inclusive Societies and Science with and for Society, where there are all the SSH-related topics included. But additionally, it is a cross-cutting issue. So SSH involvement is written into most of these sub-programs. And now the question is how to find these opportunities and how to get involved in these opportunities. So here is the list of the open, inclusive, innovative and reflective societies topics that have now a deadline in March. And Science with and for Society with deadlines in April. That is the easiest for you to go through and see if you can relate to any of the topics. And of course, from there on, it's to understand also if you have not participated yet, what are the easiest topics to get involved and how. But additionally to these two programs targeted to SSH, there is the cross-cutting component of SSH that is implemented in a variety of programs. So, okay. Okay, this component, fortunately here, the topics have been listed, but it's not too easy to still orient around here, but at least you can get access to the list of topics available. And from there on, let's... Okay, as a general principle, these topics are expected to somehow engage with social scientists, integrate the contributions in various stages. So in different work packages, they have to, first of all, engage SSH partner in the consortium, and on the other side, foresee activities where the SSH partner is engaged, and it should be in a number of work packages. And these activities need to be described in the proposal, and they are evaluated during the evaluation stage of the proposals. So if this element is present, the proposals, in order to succeed, need to collaborate with SSH. So it really is an opportunity for SSH researchers. It's not just there, it will be assessed if the element is there. So the projects are going out there and looking for SSH partners. So for example, I identified here one call that is open now. That's from the health program. Including ICT element of big data and artificial intelligence, and also the SSH as a cross-cutting principle. So in the call description, you can see socio-economic sciences and humanities as a topic to be addressed. And actually, in particular, open science and gender are also part of this interaction, probably. And now, the question is, what should social scientists do? And then you need to really go through the call text and try to find these elements, which I have noted here. So here the social scientists are expected to address the economic issues and measures and evaluation, and take into account the relevant social aspects of health status, quality of life, and so on. And also in the impact part, you can see that there is a need to develop evidence base for policy strategies and prevention. So it's mainly user engagement and impact assessment where the social science partner should be engaged. So you can go through the list of the social science elements and see if there is something interesting for you. And then the trick is how to find these consortiums who are preparing proposals for these topics. That I will go in detail in a few minutes. But, well, in summary, these kind of efforts have been introduced in the previous years into Horizon 2020 to increase the role of SSH, but it is still well in the beginning, and the assessments done so far show that the budget for SSH partners who have been engaged is very concentrated around a few countries: UK, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, Belgium, Spain, and France. And I would say these are the countries that have just a really good knowledge and capacities of the Horizon program, and they know how to write proposals, how to be successful. So from these countries, there are just much more proposals submitted with organizations from these countries. And secondly, so far there is very limited involvement of the arts and humanities compared to other social scientists. And I think it was covered probably in the previous discussions, but the role of the social sciences in the next Horizon Europe program is still ongoing. And the last information I have, there is a debate of having it integrated with security program. So let's see how it goes, but I would say when you want to get engaged, now it's the time. We don't know what will happen in Horizon Europe, and now the opportunities for SSH are really integrated and expected. So it's time to act, because maybe from 2020 on you can do only security-related research. So it's time to act. So I will try to share how we have approached Horizon 2020, because I've been working with international programs, and in particular Horizon and FP7, that was the previous, since 10 years. And 10 years ago, I was working in a small company of maximum 10 people, doing mainly structure fund-oriented project writing. And then we started developing a strategy of where we want to be and where we want to go. And my activities since then have been related to developing the knowledge and capacities to be able to participate in Horizon and to advise partners in proposal writing. So now we are part of a huge company with more than 200 employees. Of course, it's not only through the international projects, but it's surely a part of it. And the fact that we have been successful in so many calls shows something. That if you take a dedicated effort and make investment, it's possible, even from Estonia or Latvia or the Baltic states to get involved. And it takes time, but it's realistic. So when I started around 2010 actually to work with it, then we had our first involvement in a project that lasted 2011 till 13 till 15, 12 till 20. So it just took a few years, but within this is also the evaluation process. So it was quite fast. And just an interesting note, Estonia in general has been quite successful in Horizon, and especially in terms of coordinating proposals compared to large countries where there are relatively more proposals. And in Estonia we have actually state support to collaborate with within Baltic states. So Estonian Research Council provides support to projects that are above the threshold during the evaluation. So these coordinators get a small sum to compensate their efforts. And actually this sum is larger when we have in the consortium partners from Latvia or Lithuania. So as we are friendly countries, if we ourselves work with projects, we very often go to search for partners in Latvia and Lithuania because we want to collaborate, and there is also a small initiative to that. So that's maybe some interesting fact for you if you collaborate with Estonian partners, Estonian universities, that it's supported from the state side also. Okay, and how we did it as a consultancy company, but I mean what we do is social sciences. I developed a strategy. We didn't know how to participate, how to write proposals, but we wanted to establish this capacity. So we established a approach, let's say not to first go to clients and try to sell them some skills that we don't have yet, but try ourselves to find calls where we could participate. And on our side, try to write a few proposals. But what was much more important, that we decided to invest in the partner network, to establish a network together with who we could get involved. So I made a strategy of and mapped potential partners and organizations that could be the door or the key for joint proposals, and set the performance indicators, like by what time, how many partners we want to have, and through that, in how many proposals we want to be engaged, and in how much time there will be a first success story. And unfortunately, the hard disk of my computer was destroyed with this information. I wanted to show you the initial strategy that we had. But now in this database that I have created, I have more than 700 contacts. And I think maybe actively we have been involved in joint proposals maybe around 50, 70 organizations. So it's really possible to network building to get engaged. And this might be a bit different for research organizations and private sector, but if you talk about social scientists that could be engaged in different technological projects, then I'm sure you have your own research networks, but what you additionally actually need is to get in touch with technological developers and so on, who go for the research and innovation actions of different technological fields. So for this, the same groups or ways of network building apply. And I've provided here a list of possible ways of network building that we have also used. And what actually was the key for success for us was the LinkedIn groups, because there are, I'm not so active there anymore, but I think they are still operating. There are a number of groups built around the different work programs and topics, where organizations searching for partners actively launch their searches. So from there I got the first contacts, and actually that led to first project. So it was about social networks. What is also important are different face-to-face events, the brokerage days in Brussels organized by different projects. And so that's why I invite you to get engaged in Hub IT events, because these are really dedicated to match you with potential partners with real ideas. And then of course there are Enterprise Europe Network Cooperation Opportunities database that you can scroll through, where the organization also publish their ideas. And what is another useful source is the Cordis database, where there are all the funded projects. So even now, whenever I have a competence missing in a consortium, first thing I do, I go to the platform of or database of previous projects and search for partners who have done something in this field. Because these are organizations with references. So these are different ways of networking, building the relations that at the end can lead to different projects. And I think for you, if you have not been engaged in Horizon before, it's important to build this knowledge through this involvement in existing proposals that are maybe not prepared by you, but by the partners you can learn from. But what you need to have ready is the arguments, what are your strengths and how you can contribute. So it's important to think through this strategy of what you can offer. So, well, I think there is a very long story on how the projects are done and what are important elements there. It probably is a workshop of a few days. Thank you very much, and register in the platform so we can invite you to Hub IT events where we can really, we have the activities and funding available to really work together with you during next 2 years still. Thank you.